Rainbow Six Siege has been around for 7 years at this point, but a lot has changed since Siege released all those years ago. So today I'll be answering the question, should you buy Rainbow Six Siege? Before the question can be answered, you first must understand what Siege actually is. Siege is a competitive multiplayer first-person shooter where you're split into two sides, one side being the defenders and the other being the attackers. The goal of the game for the attackers is to utilize their gadgets to push through defenders' setups and to capture the objective, while the defenders must utilize their gadgets and other utility to prevent the attackers from completing the objective. Each player does only have one life per round, so this does mean that both sides can win by eliminating the other, but that is never the primary objective. Now currently there are 3 main modes in Rainbow Six Siege. The first being Secure Area, which is a casual game mode where there is a biohazard container that must be captured by the attackers by standing in its radius. Basically think like domination in any other game, except with only 1 point. The second mode is Hostage, another casual mode where the attackers must capture the hostage and extract them outside, while the defenders must prevent the extraction. The final mode is the most important one, which is Bomb. Bomb is the competitive mode of the game. In this game mode, the objective for the attackers is to plant the diffuser in one of the 2 bomb sites, while the defenders must defend the bomb site and stop this from happening. If I discuss anything related to gameplay throughout this video, it will be in the context of the bomb game mode, because of the fact that it is the competitive mode. One thing I think is super important for you to understand before getting into Siege is its massive skill gap. Siege will take a long time to learn. The maps are complex with tons of destruction and new strategies to discover. Also, every operator's gadget interacts uniquely with the environment. Considering there are 65 operators in the game with tons of combinations, it will take you a while to learn them all. The learning process won't be easy, but in my opinion it's worth it. Rainbow Six Siege has a ton of depth in its gameplay and brings real replayability value. Now, what exactly is an operator? Well, operators in Siege are characters that you can select that have unique abilities, weapons, and secondary gadgets. Each operator's gadget fills a different role. For example, Thermite's gadget is the exothermic charge. His job as an attacker is to breach reinforced walls, which reinforced walls are soft walls that have been reinforced by the defenders. Reinforced walls look something like this. The reason opening reinforced walls is useful is because it allows the attackers to have new lines of sight into the objective. Another example is Jaeger. Jaeger's gadget is the ADS, which will destroy any projectiles that comes into its radius. This includes things like frag grenades, flashbangs, and smoke grenades. His gadget allows him to protect his fellow defenders and to burn attacker utility. Now, their gadgets aren't the only thing that is important. On top of that, an operator's secondary gadget is also super important. Secondary gadgets are basically universal gadgets that multiple operators have access to. A great example of these are frag grenades or smoke grenades. The reason these are so important is because if you have a secondary gadget that meshes well with your primary gadget, it can make your primary gadget even stronger. Smoke is a good example of this. Because of his secondary gadget, the deployable shield, he is allowed to deploy his gadget, the toxic canisters, from behind cover. There are way more operators in this game than what I've discussed just now, but I just wanted to give you some examples of what operators are and what's important behind them. Now, Rainbow Six Siege has a lot of problems, don't get me wrong. The biggest one being cheaters. Cheaters, even after Ubisoft released their new anti-cheat update, have been ravaging the Siege community. We all had hoped that Operation Solar Raid would at least slow down the cheating problem, but their anti-cheat update was discovered by cheaters a week before it was even released, and cheat manufacturers had already released a workaround. And what's even worse is that the cheating has become even more of a problem, because at the start of the season, cheaters were putting images on people's screens and running scripts on their PC. Luckily, Ubisoft patched this cheat quickly, but it still shows the state of Siege when it comes to cheating. Now, these kinds of issues aren't new to Siege or even other competitive titles, but the cheating problem in Siege specifically has been going on for 7 years now, so it's just disappointing that it hasn't been at least slowed down yet. Another huge issue right now with Siege is bugs. Specifically with our newest season, Solar Raid, we have been left with a ton of bugs and problems that can make the game nearly unplayable. An example of this is a new bug where your battle pass literally won't progress. Another huge problem with this season was people were crashing at record numbers. Me and even some of my friends were having these issues, and it was one of the most reported bugs this season. But outside of the bugs, there has been a huge amount of server issues recently as well. Servers will freeze to the point where everyone can't move, or even worse, they'll just crash. The crashing is a problem, especially in ranked, because you'll get banned for leaving a match even if it was the server's fault. Now, the final problem with Siege right now is the new reputation system. This is basically Ubisoft's way of combating the immense toxicity in the Siege community. The way reputation is supposed to work is every time you leave a match or say something toxic to other players, your reputation score will go down. The lower your reputation score, the more punishments you are given. And if your reputation is high enough, you'll get rewarded for your good reputation. This is actually a great idea in concept, and I'm actually not sure if any other game has done it before, but the way it's executed makes this system pretty awful. First off, leaving a casual match will lower your reputation, or even a newcomer match, which the whole point of newcomer and casual is so players can have a casual experience just to learn the game. And they also function as a way to avoid the commitment of a ranked game. If you don't want to spend 30 to 45 minutes in a game that you can't leave, then casual and newcomer are a great way to do that. But Siege has decided recently to change that with this new system. Also, it appears that the reputation system is just bugged. You will literally lose reputation just for talking in game chat. It doesn't even have to be in a toxic manner either. I think this is just down to the system being new, but still. Countless content creators have been getting punished for things they didn't do, and it just doesn't make sense. Now, before I give my verdict, I want to talk about the direction Siege is going when it comes to the new content and balancing it's been releasing. Siege's new content has been very conflicting. Every defender they have released in the past year has been a blast. Azami changes the way you think about the bomb site with her Kibas, and Solace allows you to bring a ton of intel to your team. Also, her weapons are incredibly fun to use as well, but the attackers are a whole different story. Since it's fun to play, but overall their gadget will hurt your team, and their guns are awful. As for Grim, he is by far the worst operator in the game. His gadget will easily get you killed for trying to use it, and even when you're able to use it without dying, it doesn't provide your team with anything really. This same story is repeated when it comes to the maps, Stadium Bravo being one of my least favorite maps in the game, but Nighthaven Labs, which is our most recent map, is really fun for me, and I've been enjoying it quite a lot. Now, to speak on Ubisoft's balancing lately, it hasn't been great. Ubisoft has never been the best at balancing their game, but things like reducing the speed of a ton of fan-favorite operators and reducing the speed across the board while aiming down sights are just awful changes. They unnecessarily slow down the game, and they make gunfights less fun. Okay, it is now time to give my final verdict. As of right now, Siege is $20 MSRP. If Rainbow Six Siege seems interesting to you, I would suggest two things. One, buy the game with at least one friend or more. Siege is a lot more fun with friends, and playing it solo is an awful experience. My second suggestion is for you to wait for a sale and buy the deluxe edition. Not only will you be saving $10, you'll also be getting 16 additional operators starting out, those being all the operators from year 1 and year 2. This is an amazing deal, especially considering a lot of people have dumped thousands of hours into this game. But if you can't wait for a Steam sale, or one isn't going to be happening for a very long time, I still think it's worth the $20. There isn't really anything like Siege, and the amount of hours I've gotten out of it personally is quite hard to match. Also, if you don't end up liking it and you don't go over the 2 hours worth of playtime, you can refund it. So there really isn't anything to lose when it comes to just trying the game out. I would definitely recommend it if it seems like something interesting to you. If you want a more in-depth beginner's guide on how to play Rainbow Six Siege, you can go and watch this video on my channel, and I'm sure it'll help you out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. I'm about to hit 3K subs, and your sub can make a difference. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.